Good evening, afternoon, something, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guest today is Sam Beck, the artist of the upcoming Loving Ohio with Matthew Ehrman coming out from Dark Horse on August 6th. And webcomic verse has been published by Vault Comics as well. And I just noticed that we did the art on Songs for the Dead by Michael Christopher, or written by Michael Christopher Heron and Andrea Fort. Also from Vault Comics, which it's been a while since I read it, but I loved it. Anytime I see the word songs in a title, it's like, okay, music, comics together. Perfect.
Amazing. Yeah, happy to be here.
So thank you so much for coming on. Actually, it was thank you so much for sending me a copy of Loving to read today, because it was one of those weird like things. I've had verse up on my phone since volume 3 was announced because it had
Mhm.
somehow flown under my radar. And you got a couple of nice, I think Heidi McDonald wrote about you. Heidi's a friend. So I went, oh, I need to look at this. So I literally had the tab open on my phone. And then both my co-host Tyler, who tested positive for COVID today and often can't get here, he could pop in later because 5:30 sometimes frees up. Um,
Mhm.
but we both noticed Loving Ohio when it was solicited, but I hadn't actually drawn those two things together until your publicist reached out and said, hey, and I went, wait a minute, Loving and verse? Yes, I want to talk to this person. So,
I need to maybe do a better job promoting myself. I feel like I fly under the radar a lot. I'm very
I
I
mean,
don't know, like
that's,
I do a lot of different styles and things. Anyway, still
I mean,
finding my place.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's most frustrating about comics is that like creators have to do their own publicity because there
Yeah.
aren't enough people who have figured out how to do comics publicity because the world's still trying to figure out comics, or at least the United States is. I mean, I was talking briefly off the air about how I got to go to retail therapy today after the wonderful state of the United States this morning. Um, One of the things that like totally made my day was I was at a major chain bookstore and was looking for their comics section. I found a couple of my favorite books. I found Andrew Iden and Nate Powell's March and Run. But then I went, oh, but these aren't comics. They had it in the US history section. And I went,
Okay.
and I went, hell yes. Finally, we get that comics are like a medium. You don't have to put them all together. You don't put all the prose books together.
No,
You
I
put
love that. That's
history
actually
books with
great.
history books and
Yeah.
poetry books with poetry books and sci-fi with sci-fi. And so I like it made my day. And I then emailed Andrew and Nate, and I know it made at least Andrew's day too. So yeah, that's my full circle autistic way of going around and saying, figuring out how to market yourself in comics, figuring out how to market comics in general is difficult
For sure.
because if you're not superheroes, most of at least half to most, somewhere in there of the like actual comic shops don't know how to pitch you to their audience or don't have the
No,
audience for you whatsoever.
yeah,
The
for sure.
bookstores, the bookstores have figured out, oh, these graphic novels are a thing. We should carry more of them. But they still haven't really figured out what and how. Thank God the librarians are on top of
For sure, yeah. I
it.
would say also like bookstores are doing a good job like with having like YA and like young
Yep.
readers stuff, but like anything that skews older that isn't
Yeah.
superheroes, so difficult to find
Yeah.
in North America at least to
Yeah.
find like
No, that
the
they
right way
haven't
to
reached the
promote
point
it.
where it's like, oh, wait a minute. You mean adults read comics? Yeah.
Yeah.
Comics aren't about dumbing it down. In fact, sometimes comics make it infinitely more complex
Mhm.
because there are things you can do with pictures and words that you can't do with just one or the other. Which is why I'm going to start with Loving Ohio here. First, give us like the front counter pitch for Loving Ohio.
All right, so I'll try and do my best at it. The writer Matthew Urban does a much better job, but
Unfortunately,
I will do my
he's the
best.
word guy, so that's to be
Yeah.
expected. But you
So
got to read it
yeah,
first.
true. So Loving Ohio takes place in a fictional town called Loving. It's about this group of friends. One of their friends commits suicide at the beginning of the book, and they kind of have to deal both with like the trauma and, the fact that this happened to them, to someone that they really cared about, while kind of living in this small town that's also being kind of taken over by this cult called the Chorus. The chorus kind of like permeates all aspects of life in Loving. It's like right by their high school, all their family members are part of it. So it's this kind of tension between like how to navigate, being a teenager, dealing with this like cult and institutionalized religion and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
And then there's also very scary monsters and like supernatural things happening in relation to this cult.
right.
So that's kind of the very high level stuff going on living Ohio. Lots of emotion, angst, and weird, scary, supernatural monster type things.
And this is where, um, I jumped into it from comics can make things more complex, in beautiful ways. The things you do with color, the things you do with like I'm just looking at a couple pages here where when they're having the school assembly,
Mhm.
and like when they're talking to the school assembly, you've got it, relatively not completely traditional panel structure, but relatively straightforward. But then as you move into the second page, the next page, and she's thinking about exactly everything that's going on and the fact that they were there, it allow like half the page is panelless, free form, getting jumbled in a way that you can't get very well in writing, in just prose. And if you were
Yeah,
just doing pictures without words, you couldn't have the fact that this is going on instantaneously with what's attempting to be a very ordered, okay, this terrible thing happened in our community. So for the next 4 days, you mourn that, and then we'll get back to normal. Which unfortunately, in Canada, you don't have to deal with mass shooting incidents as much as we do. So I hope that you
thankfully.
haven't
No,
had to
yeah.
deal with what it's like to live through that. But I have a couple of times, and it sucks.
Hmm.
It sucks to not. I mean, it's bad enough to live through it. Living through it is horrible, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But the hardest part is like the idea that there are people, even among the people who lived through it with you, they're like, okay, we need to be done with this now.
Yeah.
This is just life is normal. Um, so the dichotomy between the muted colors as the principal's talking and the fire as she looks away. And again, I grabbed this page almost completely at random. Um, Talk to me about making those decisions. Talk to me about
Yeah.
comics and how
Yeah, for
how
sure.
how fun it is to take a story and go, okay, I've got the words and I've got the thing, but I want to put the vibe and the feeling and everything into it.
Yeah. So I think Loving Ohio was really fun and interesting for me to work on for a few reasons. One, like I was truly like a co-creator with the writer Matthew Ehrman. Like when he came to me with this pitch, it was actually quite different from what the story ended up becoming. And we kind of went through I didn't write it, but like we went through the brainstorming and like developing it kind of as I was drawing and as he was writing.
Okay.
So it felt very collaborative,
Very, very cool.
which was really awesome. The style of the artwork, like if anyone kind of looks at my other comic verse first or like other work I've done, Loving Ohio is really different in that it's a lot more grungy. I wanted to kind of replicate the feeling of risograph printing with it.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that, it's like very low tech. You only use a few colors, so it
And if
looks,
you're not familiar with that, go to any like
yeah.
go to Cake if you're in Chicago, go to TCAF if you're in Toronto, go to
Mhm.
Decaf if you're in Denver, go to SPX, go to
Any indie comic festival full of
half
it,
of
and it's
the indies are like
beautiful.
in love with Risograph right now with
It's a
good
really,
reason.
really, yeah, it's really
Right.
beautiful. So I mean, like obviously, like Living Ohio is published by Dark Horse. It's a big print run. They're using like actual printers and
Right.
presses, but I still wanted to have that
Right.
lo-fi feeling to it. And you're mentioning this one specific page where it's like very a rigid grid structure, and then it kind of morphs into this more fluid, broken, like busted out of the panels and stuff. I think when I'm doing my comics, I actually truly love working with grids. Like I always have a grid. I love having the like constraint of it.
Right.
Because it gives you that opportunity to have those like very standout moments or things just like break out of it. I remember when I first started doing comics, I think it was actually Songs for the Dead. Like I didn't use a grid, and it made it very difficult for me to pace the comic properly and to
Yeah,
find
I
those
mean,
moments of
there's
like,
absolutely a reason why
yeah,
the grid structure became a thing.
yeah.
I mean, you talk to some comic artists, oh, I hate the grid, and it's like, yeah,
Uh, I love the
And
grid.
you
It makes
talk
me
to
feel
other
more
comic artists
creative.
that hate not doing the grid. I mean, all of my favorite comics are the ones that it's like, okay, this is what works here, and this is what works there.
Mhm,
Um, so I mean that I appreciate. I mean that's something I noted. I was reading both Verse and Loving Ohio today, and it's something that I noticed in both of them is that um you never you have a certain structure, you clearly like structure, but you never let structure get in the way of storytelling. You're not afraid
yeah.
of white space, which that I think is actually one of the things that you see the least in cartoonists. The
Mhm.
ability to have white space on the page and feel like that's okay. I mean, I'm just looking again, random. I happen to be at chapter 3 of Verse, and I turn the page, and there you are. You've got a page of one of the characters walking through town, and both the top and bottom left corner and the side of the middle are just white space, and that's a bold decision because when it doesn't work, people are looking at that page and going like, did you forget to put a panel in? Right.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
it does
Yeah.
because of the way it draws your eye in like an S through the page.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I mean, full disclosure to you, anybody who listens to the podcast, hi mom, hi John, hi Britt. Yeah, we have 3 regular listeners and maybe a dozen more. So you can say anything you want. Nobody will know unless you want them to. Um, but one of the things that I've really I, I'm a writer myself, and I like one of the reasons I love comics is I can't make a picture in my head to save my life. I don't see in pictures at all. So I need visuals because
Mhm.
tell me to picture something, I'm like, what does that mean? um, but it's made me really appreciate the little things that artists will do. Um, the ways that they'll solve difficult storytelling aspects. I mean, I've started noticing it even more when I'm reading prose or watching movies where I'm sitting there going, I wonder how they do a comic of this because I bet you I'd
Mhm.
get it better. Right. I bet because like in movies, it's so hard to really show thought processes. And
Yeah, it's hard to have. I mean, there's some movies that I think do it well, but like I think quiet or very slow moments are harder
right.
to do in movies and like a lot easier to do in
Well, and
comics.
and, and we're gonna go all over the place here because I'm gonna go. I mean, you just said something that I was thinking a lot in Verse. Do you happen to read many European comics?
So I only really got into reading a lot of comics like super later in life. Like
Well, that's okay.
what I grew up reading and loving though was manga, which can
Okay.
be very slow paced or fast paced. Like
Yeah,
I
it could
think
go either way. Because
it's
I was, well,
yeah,
I mean, I only ask because you are very comfortable in verse having multiple silent pages in a row that are like designed to show like peace in the passage of time rather than needing to constantly force the action. And that's something that you
yeah,
see a lot in Bandai Disney and sometimes in manga. But,
yeah.
American comics is like, we need a fight every 6 pages.
Yeah, I've gotten scripts from American writers for more like mainstream comics, and they're jam packed. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is too much.
Yeah.
We need some breathing room. I
I
think
mean,
I
you could
have,
do great things with those too, but
yeah. For me, it's not
it's
my
not your
thing. I like
style.
being able to have, the space to do that. My background is I studied to be a graphic designer is my background. I did
Okay.
that for quite a few years before leaving my job and going into comics. And I think like you were mentioning
Oh, wait
white
a minute. You
space.
left a real job and went into
I,
comics? We
I
definitely need
left,
to hear this
yeah,
story.
I left a real job and went into comics. That worked out
I
amazingly.
mean,
But
thankfully, I mean, your work is great, but you're brave. A job with paychecks for the job where
yeah,
you hope that somebody will kick you a couple bucks here and there.
yeah. But my train of thought. Yeah, no, like
Sorry.
in design and stuff, like the whole concept of like negative space is a big thing you learn. Like you want to have that breathing room for whatever you're designing, and I think that just like is emblazoned into my brain. I took that into how I do the composition and stuff of comics. Like that's really important to me, just how it flows and looks on a page.
Yeah. I mean, it shows. Your pages flow really well. I mean, I've said this. There are, I always forget how many because I forget one of these days I need to fucking write it down. Um, they're really like, I think three components that I look for the most in an artist, and it's the acting, both in terms of facial expressions and body language.
Mhm.
And you do those. I mean, I'm looking at Nitya kind of huddled around the fire on. And is that how we pronounce that name? How would you pronounce that name? You're the writer. You get
The
to
sorry, the main character, Nitya.
Nitya. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, just like her introducing herself and then like huddled at the fire, I think right after they've met the what is it, Rivers? So Fife has been injured. Yeah, we're about a third of the way through the book.
I
But
wrote this
just
book like in
a long time ago. Yeah,
2016.
right, right, right.
I'm like,
But
damn, I don't
but
remember anything I did.
no, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, this is more as an audio podcast, I feel like I need to like describe
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit to people.
for sure.
Um, the essential setup here that's done so well is like you have a character that the world believes is evil, or at least all of the other characters in the
Mhm.
world believe is evil, but they've somehow been convinced that maybe this one isn't. Maybe there's something more, so they're not going to kill her yet. So you have her in this mixture of fear and gratefulness and the human character in this mixture of like fear and just total am I out of my mind ness. And you can see it on their faces, you can see it in the way she hunches, you can see it in the way he's making the food. um and you don't even have to read the words, and therefore the words can be read as words. You don't need the words to set the mood. You're
Yeah.
setting the mood with the pictures themselves. I love it when it decides that I'm raising my hand. I love it that it catches gestures now, but I talk with my hands, and so I'm talking, and Zoom tells me I'm raising my hand, and I'm like, I'm the host.
Let him talk.
Um, but yeah, so you get the body language and but then the second thing is storytelling through panels. Um, and you are really good at laying out a page to help the story move, to help the story breathe. And then the third thing that I really look for is giving enough detail to really set the setting and the place without letting it get in the way.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have beautifully detailed art, and I'm like, this is a comic book, right? We're supposed to be following the story, not looking at at the window in the background.
I feel like I'm sometimes guilty of like I really like drawing backgrounds, sometimes guilty of that, but
No,
like
you
I
have.
try and rein it in.
I don't think you are, because having beautiful backgrounds is different from having backgrounds that detract from the story.
Fair, yeah.
Okay. And you have beautiful backgrounds, you have detailed backgrounds, you have backgrounds that I'll ask minor questions to myself about, particularly as I'm flipping through like a second or third time. But what you don't have is that background that I'm so focused on that I don't pay attention to the character.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really enjoy doing in verse with backgrounds in particular is like a lot of the kind of world building, which like you might typically in a book have like a lot of exposition talking about. Like I just
Right.
let things happen in the background. I don't explain it, which maybe frustrates some people, but I
No,
feel
I love
like,
that kind of book.
like there's like a lot of weird kind of in verse magic is gone from the world, but there's like remnants of it in the background. You see this like weird ancient technology that like who knows what it was. Maybe it was an oil rig, maybe it was like a factory. They look sometimes very modern, and it like juxtaposes between the kind of more like European medieval fantasy
Right.
of what verse is. And it just kind of hangs out in the background, and characters, walk in front of it, but they don't really point it out. It's just part of their lives. And like I really enjoy that kind of quiet world
Right.
building.
So, I went off on my gushing about your art, which, I like even more than I thought I did, is I finally spent some time with it. Um, how did you go from, I mean, what was the genesis of going from what is generally considered a much more stable career as a graphic designer
Yeah,
to
I mean,
being a comic book artist?
so I think I had a few things going for me. Like I always need to preface this like very scary jump into comics with the fact that like I live with a partner who's able to support both of us for a lot of
That's
this.
that's not an
Um,
uncommon.
and I need to just tell people this because like it's really important to being able to
Yeah.
work as a comic artist because no one pays you well. So I have a support system. I worked kind of at my job for 5 years, saved up enough, and like at one point I'm like, I really just want to try doing illustration, not even comics. I wanted to be an illustrator and try and do gigs and stuff like that. So saved up enough for like a year, and I'm like, okay, let me do this for a year. If it doesn't work out, I can always just go back to my job, right?
Right.
But thankfully, it worked out. Songs for the Dead was kind of the first comic that uh, the writers asked me to be the artist on. They pitched it. It was picked up by Vault, and it kind of just continued from there. And I feel so incredibly lucky that like I continued to get work and was able to do this now for like 10 years since I left my
Right.
job. So yeah.
Yeah. But what, I mean, you said you were drawn to illustration, but what drew you to comics? I mean,
Like I mean,
illustration is one thing, and illustration is
yeah.
great, but comics is its own medium. It's something a little bit different. What drew you to, I want to be a very active contributor to somebody else's storytelling, and or
Mhm.
I want to do my own, I mean, versus your storytelling. It's not
Yeah.
you adapting somebody else. What?
So I think part of it is so as like a teenager, like a 13-year-old, big into like being on forums, sharing art, and like a lot of that in the community is like, we're gonna make our own little original characters and they're going to interact with each other. But like you
Okay.
never draw a comic. You just kind of draw your character and you make up little stories about them, and you and your
Right.
friends write little collaborative stories. And I think that kind of I've always been drawn to that. Um,
That's very
you
cool.
know, like read manga and stuff. Like I like the art form of it. So I think when I left my job and was doing illustration and stuff, I did a whole bunch of like short stories because I just wanted to like, take that a step further from, just having like your little character and writing about them to actually, the next step of putting them in a story and drawing that story. And I
Right.
just really love doing it. So
Right.
yeah,
And managed to be in the right place at the right time, which,
yeah,
I mean, to any creators listening, yes, hard work matters. Hard work absolutely matters, but so does luck.
yeah. I know
And
I
and
can't
and and that
disagree.
and that's one of the things that like you need to remember both ways, because there's so many people that do great work that are convinced that it's not great work because they haven't gotten lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
don't
I
give
think
up,
no,
but
I
be
think what
realistic.
yeah, what I had going for me was like being kind of online
Yeah.
for from a young age.
Well,
Like
and
I was
also as you
always,
as you mentioned already, you were in a situation where you could take the risk. You weren't going to
yeah,
lose the
I
roof
could
over
take the
your head.
risk.
Right.
Um, and like I've been like
Um,
putting my stuff online, so it's out there. Like people
right.
kind of were familiar with my art before I was doing comics or anything. So like
Right.
that helped, to like
Yeah.
get my foot in the door
Yeah,
for
there's
people to even
there's
like
and
look at
I
me.
I still need to learn more about it, but I keep hearing more and more about there seems to be just like an absolutely thriving Instagram comics community. People who literally
In
do like
Instagram is
almost all of their publishing through
yeah,
Instagram, you
yeah.
know? And it's like, okay, I haven't managed to reach all of the print comic communities. And now you're telling me that there's another digital comic community for me to dive into. And I love comics so much that I will, but it's really daunting.
Hmm.
But I mean that's something that I do love about this era of comics is it's never been easier to get your work to an audience. Doesn't actually make it easier to do it for a living, but it's easier to at least have people see your stuff. And that's something.
100%. Yeah.
Um, so yeah. See, this is my favorite and least favorite thing about podcasting, particularly those days where I wind up as a solo host rather than having a co-host that can fill the spots as I'm trying to formulate the question. When things go really well early, I suddenly have 1,000 questions in my head rather than two or three, and picking the right next one becomes difficult.
I can
Um,
expand a bit. You were talking about
go
how
for it.
easy it is to kind of get your comics out there, and I agree. So like Verse right now is well, so when I first did Verse, it was a web comic because like no publisher is gonna take a chance on you unless you get really lucky with your own work and like you have to find an
Right.
agent and all of that. So I'm like, forget that. I don't understand that world. I'm not gonna do that. So I just put it online for free. I hosted my own website and like that's where you could read
And it's
Verse
still there.
for it's well, so it only came back recently. So it was online
Okay.
for a long time. I kickstarted book one on my own, went to a bunch of conventions in Canada and the States with it. And at one of those conventions, that's where I found my editor who would then, pick up the book to be published by Vault Comics.
Right.
And then they, published book one, book two, and book three, which comes out soon. So it went offline
August
for
20th.
yeah, I think it might have changed to September 2nd. I don't
Well,
know.
I can go check that too. Keep talking.
But yeah, so lucky enough to have them pick it up and pay me to complete the rest of it. That's very nice and awesome. But it went offline for quite a while. But I always wanted it to, be online, so it kind of went back up
Okay.
this year or last year. And it's going to stay online, for the forever now. So you can read it there. You can buy the books. I really like web comics. I think it's such a great way to,
It
just get
is.
your stuff out there. You're not
I am
beholden to
I am
anyone.
I am
Yeah.
just old enough that I have not gotten into webcomics at the level that I wish that I have.
Hmm.
Um, and I started working on getting into them just early enough that like I like stuff all over the place, and that makes it even harder because I can't just go, "Oh, I'm into webtoons," or "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in," you know, half of what I like, you have to go to their site. You have to like find some way to keep track of where you are in the to be able to go back to it. Um, which is why I'm happy when they get their print copies or
Yeah.
digital collections or whatnot, because that makes my life easier. Um, but I do I love the whole concept of I like making art, so I'm gonna put it out there and I'm gonna hopefully get paid eventually.
Exactly.
Um, so yep, you're right. September 25th now. First volume three will be
Oh,
in the
fantastic.
stores.
I love my publisher, but they like to not tell me when dates move.
They're not the only publisher that has that problem.
No, no,
Um,
they're not. So
I recently, and I won't call out the publisher or even the artist, but I recently, and this is an artist that was big. I don't know how old you are, but big when I was still like in grammar school, and possibly before you were born, because I think I've got a few years on you. I'm just guessing. I have grandkids, so you know. And when I texted him because a book that I knew he'd been working on for a while had been solicited, and I'm like, "Great, it's going to be out on this date. We got to set up to have you come back to the podcast." And he's like, "Oh, they finally decided when it's coming out. It's been
yeah,
done for."
yeah,
And
exactly.
I'm sitting there going, this is like comics royalty. And he didn't know until some guy with a dinky podcast texted him to say, "Hey, your book has been solicited." Um, and the best I can come up with is most comic companies are run by comics people, and comics people are not known for their outstanding communication skills.
I am
Um,
just shrugging.
yeah,
I don't know. It
we, we,
happens.
we, we,
It'll be out there eventually.
yeah, we tend to be shy and kind of happy-go-lucky, and but yeah, currently it's saying September 25th is what Diamond has it listed as. The verse is failing as the monstrous Vil step up their attacks. So is this the? Oh, it is the conclusion.
It is. Yeah.
So everybody has what, a little less than 3 months to read the first two volumes and be ready for the third. You got a pull quote from Faith Erin Hicks. That's a good person to have a pull quote from. You know. So okay, you said you weren't like huge into comics before you got into making comics.
Mhm.
Um, what comics were you? I mean, you said you were into manga. What did you like to read?
Yeah, so I think one of like the first manga series that I read like the entire thing was Trigun, which is
Okay.
like a what sci-fi western. I I don't know like what it is about it. I love that comic a lot. Feel like there's a bit of DNA from like that main character who's like this ultra pacifist, doesn't want to fight, but he's being hunted down by all these people, but refuses to, physically engage with them. Um, there's a bit of that in like some of the characters in verse where like they're not fighting, they're not fighters, but like they're in these situations where they have to defend themselves or whatever. And it's like, how do you go about doing that when like you don't want to use a weapon? Anyway, so I think like Trigun was like one that I really loved. One that I read more recently was Vinland Saga, which is
Okay.
like a historical fiction
Yeah.
comic about Vikings. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It has really strong character writing, which like when you just look at it at face value is like, oh, there's swords, there's fighting, that's cool. But like the actual character
Oh,
development
absolutely.
is like amazing. Like it's such like a I can't say like enough praise about like how well these characters
I've
are
I've
written in
I've
that
only read
series.
the first two like oversized volumes of
Mhm.
Vinland Saga, but I big fan.
Yeah.
Um, and for that matter, it I have Norwegian heritage, so like I like Vikings. I just do, particularly when they're
They're
handled
fun.
well.
Fun. Yeah.
You know, um, that's a good couple to catch you into it.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of other I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm
I
certain, and we'll
yeah,
get to
but
that.
like
I'm trying to
my
get
my
your comic story. I'm trying to
I'm
like
very very bad at remembering comic names. I think
that's fair too.
yeah. Some like web comics that really got me into like the medium of web comics was there's one called Necropolis by Jake Wyatt. I don't know if it updates anymore. I don't know if he ever finished it. But it's super beautiful. Like his artwork is incredible, and it's like verse. I think the intention of that comic was that it was set up to be read in print. So like it's not like a webtoon where you're doing like a long continuous scroll.
Right.
Their pages. It really beautiful. And the other one is Witchy by Ariel Rios. And that also has print editions as well. And it's like another fantasy comic. I believe the pitch is like the characters have this super long hair where their magic is stored. So if you cut your hair, you kind of get rid of your magic. It's a very interesting concept, and it has some really great characters in it.
That sounds fantastic. I have this terrible and wonderful tendency as soon as people start talking about um cool comics, I have to go find them.
I do the same thing. When I'm on podcasts and people bring up names, I'm like typing them
Yeah,
into
yeah. It's
Google
like
to look up
it's like
later.
I must Google it immediately. Oh, this does look cool. Ariel Slame, Rios, witchycomicbook.com. And actually I noticed that Jake Wyatt immediately uh like the top of his Tumblr, which means that it's like a year old. Um, uh, he's got I mean, first an Acropolis baseball piece because I'm a baseball nut, so that catches my attention. But I saw some mention of Trigun, and I'm oh there we go, Trigun fan art. So he's also a Trigun
Incredible.
fan.
I didn't know that. I need to
Yeah, he
find this now.
here, here,
Amazing.
here, here. I guess I just need to accept that I'm physically incapable of drawing regular old Trigun fan art.
How
So
cute.
that's oh, I guess that was him reblogging something,
Oh,
but it
okay.
still caught his
Still a
attention.
fan.
So, all right. So that's so was the manga reading like an from your from your youth or teen years, or was that something that you picked up as an artist too? I mean, I view manga as comics. So again,
Yeah.
I love to figure out how people get to where they are and who they are.
No, I
Um,
mean I read manga like before I was doing comic work like as a teenager. I was reading it,
okay,
watching like a lot of anime and stuff. Like in Canada, we started getting like Gundam Wing and stuff
okay.
on TV. So it'd be like staying up late watching that. I don't know, there was just something about how mostly like characters are written in manga series that I wasn't finding in like a lot of like American
Oh,
superhero
absolutely.
comics.
Well, I
It
mean,
was just
superhero comics are their own beast,
they're their own thing, but like it just wasn't as appealing to me as like having these like deep like
yeah,
introspections into
that's
characters.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm always proud of people who come to comics out in spite of superheroes. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of those that came through superheroes. I have my superhero love. I have toys in
Mhm.
front of me. um, but like the medium of comics is what I love. The older I get, the less superheroes I read. I would have stopped reading comics a long time ago if I hadn't discovered Vertigo. Um, that sort of thing. So I mean I have a deep appreciation for people that are like, oh wait, comics can be something else? Then I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think if I only ever had seen, Cape Comics, I maybe would never have gone into it. But
And
yeah, like thankfully I
that
had
makes
access
sense to me.
to other things, which is fantastic.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me because I mean it's my biggest frustration even in terms of like acknowledging that I'm a comics fan or telling people that host a comics podcast is like so often the response is, "What did you think of the Spider-Man movie?" And my response is like twofold. It's like, well, first, I said I'm into comics, not movies, and second, there's more to comics than superheroes. There's like a lot more to comics than
Hmm.
superheroes. And third, yeah, it was really great, but that's not the point. I mean, I'm a teacher, and I'm always accidentally finding ways that, oh, we're learning about this. Let me show you this comic. Oh, you're interested in this. Let me show you that comic. Uh, and I'm also starting to look at Necropolis now. So if I feel distracted, I need to stop looking at Necropolis because it
It's
looks really
very
good. And
beautiful. It's very good. I'm almost kind of sad that like I don't think it updates anymore, but like I still go back and look at the
it
pages.
actually
I'm
kind
like,
of looks like he might have gotten a producer job
huh?
on.
Yeah,
Let
something like
me.
that.
I think it said he is producing the My Adventures with Superman on HBO and Cartoon Network. So he's doing great work because that's a fun show. Um, but
Uh,
it's
we
definitely
we
one of
we love when creators are getting paid to do something
right.
fun,
Yes,
regardless of what it is.
right. That's my point. It's definitely one of those places where it's like on one side, I'm so happy that you're getting paid. On another side, I'm happy that I even still enjoy what you're doing to get paid. I would be happy that you were getting paid even if I did enjoy it, but in this case I do. And
Yeah.
on the other side, but I want more of this. I've all but given up on the idea that I don't know if you've ever come across this is like one of the few superhero type things that I will recommend to almost anybody. I need to make certain I get the creator right. Um, there was a web comic that has been printed by Brennan Lee Mulligan and Molly Ostertag called Strong Female Protagonist, which is just ridiculously good. And I have a feeling will never actually be finished because they both are consistently getting paid for other stuff now.
I'm familiar with the name of this comic, but I've never actually read it. Now I've typed it in so I can check it
Yeah,
out later.
it's fantastic. Um, but so is their other work. And I think that means that it's gonna like stay at 2.5 volumes forever.
Well,
Just has that feel. Though I did notice that they still have a Gmail that is a live link, so I might have to write them a message at some point. See, this is what happens on days where I'm willing to let myself go all over the place. I hope it's okay with you, Sam. I hope
it's
that you're
okay with
not
me.
not not thinking that I'm like shortchanging you as the guest on my show right now.
No, I really enjoy talking with podcasters in comics because I get to learn more about comics. I think one thing that happens like when you're drawing and writing and stuff is like I just can't find the time to read comics as much as I
Right.
want to.
No,
So
I
it's always
get it.
nice to talk to people and they just like are like spitting out like recommendations.
And
I'm like, yes, yes, give me them.
well, recommendations is what we try to do. I like joke about how small our audience is, but I know for a fact that well, I only know that I have like a few dozen listeners for any given episode. I'm pretty certain that they're not the same for every episode because we do too much different kinds of content between interviews, between our weekly episodes where we talk about
Mhm.
what's new that we like. We have book clubs where we talk about love and rockets, heavy metal, crime comics, old comic strip comics. So we're all over the place, and I think each of those have different. But also, I've been to enough cons and whatnot to realize that a large number of the people who listen to us are creators and comic shop owners that like, oh, we like these guys' taste. And or they just Tad talks about way too many comics, so I can sit there going, that one sounds good. Let me write that down. That one
Yeah,
sounds good. Let me write that down.
exactly.
So that's my long-winded way of saying I get what you're saying. Can you tell I'm a writer? Never use 5 words when I could use like 400. So I know that you are in the middle of moving and are on a clock today. So I'm gonna get us to my favorite final question to ask. Um, and I know it's going to be a harder one because you're just saying that you don't have enough time to read comics, but I'm going to challenge you anyway. Um, Tell me a comic, preferably a comic. It can be a book if you want it to be, but it's more fun for them to be comics
Mhm.
that you love that you don't think enough people know about because you need more people to be able to talk to about it. That one that like you
Yeah.
just yeah. Does that make sense? I'm
Yes.
still looking for the best way to ask that question. I don't want
I'm
to.
I'm
It doesn't feel right to call it underrated. It doesn't, but that one that like you love and you'll talk to somebody, oh, have you read this? And they're like, I read what? And mind you,
so
you've already given me Necropolis. I didn't know Necropolis, but if you can give me another one, that'd be even better.
I think I'm going to give you another one that's actually was originally a webcomic as well. It's called Rice Boy by Evan
Evan
Dam.
Dom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't read
So
enough of this,
yeah,
but I am a
Rice Boy was like
fan.
one of the first webcomics that I read when I was like, oh, comics can be online.
Right.
Like it's very old. I have like the whole collected print edition of it.
Right.
It's it's surreal, it's weird fantasy. Like it's still you're still introduced to kind of the character of the titular Rice Boy as like, oh, it's a protagonist who's unprepared and gets thrown into this like world that, he doesn't know what's going on. So it's familiar in that sense, but the world that this character gets thrown into is absolutely wild. There's like frog cults, there's his friend who has like a TV for a face. There's so much strangeness in this comic
Well,
that is
and this is
sometimes just
where
like not explained, and I love it. It's so
this
bizarre.
this is where I also I'm pretty certain because when did Rice Boy start? Does he give us? Yeah. Why doesn't he have a date on his comic, man?
I've packed up my books. I can't even pull it up
No,
and
I
tell you
know,
when
but
it
I
first came
want to
out.
say the TV on the face. I think he got to it before Saga did. Uh,
There's a Making Rice Boy 2010 PDF. So like, oh, 2008. That it started 2006 and finished in 2008 is what it says on the site.
so 2006 is when he started.
Yeah, yeah.
So now I gotta figure out if I now have another question for yeah, I do have another question for you, Fiona Staples and Brian Vaughn if they ever grace us with their company, because I'm looking at literally the first Rice Boy comic here and going, "Oh my God, did he inspire Prince Robot?"
I've never read the Saga series,
Oh
so
my God. Saga is
it's such a
I mean,
popular one, but for some reason, like I've heard about
but
it many
but
times, but I've
but
never
for
sat down to
but
read it.
it's like popular for good reason.
Yeah.
It's on the short list of near perfect comics. And unless you're a total prude and or because it definitely gets sexy, and or just hate sci-fi. Um, I mean, it's like the counter pitch I used to give for it is it's a Romeo and Juliet love story set against the backdrop of intergalactic civil war with weird aliens and bounty hunters and paparazzi, and none of that really matters because at its heart, it's a family story and it's about growing up, and it's beautiful, and and if you have a heart, you should just buy it. And that worked most of the time. And more times than not, they would like be back either later that day or like that week at the latest to get volume two. um, you cannot go wrong with Saga. Um, it will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will break your heart. But I'm also thinking that they may have ripped off Evan Dom with Prince Robot. And now need to read Rice Boy even more.
Yeah, I haven't read it in a really, really long time, but like it's just so strange. Like
Well,
more
I mean,
weirdness in comics always. I love it.
what's always attracted me to it, have you read Jeff Smith's Bone?
I haven't. I'm familiar with it, but I
Okay.
haven't read it. Yeah.
It's another nearly perfect, nearly essential comic. And what how Rice Boy has always made me think of Bone, and as I look at the early pages, I wonder if I've like, oh, well, no, now I'm starting to see more of it. Um, if it was more because of covers, but I think I was just looking at early pages and he gets more, is that like Jeff's main characters he keeps overall pretty simple so
Hmm.
that he can emphasize what they do rather than so I've always been attracted by the fact that the Rice Boy character itself is like just a very simple character, but that means that it's like a blank slate in terms of what you can then express with it. So even just flipping through the first few pages, I like thank you for this recommendation. It just went way higher on my list of things to read.
I like what you said about the character. Like Rice Boy is like a for people who haven't read it, he's literally like a ball in like a rectangle with two eyes. Like that's what the
Right.
character is. There's no arms or legs. Like it's just
No.
a ball.
Mhm.
And it's cool because like when you have a protagonist, like in a lot of these like like genre fantasy or sci-fi comics, like you want this kind of like blank slate, and like Rice Boy is a visual representation of that.
Right. No, and it's not that like Dom it's not like I mean another one of my favorite web comics is XKCD, which is like all stick figures.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't think Randall Monroe can do better than that, or at least he's never wanted to learn how to do better than that. And it's very clear that Evan Dom could do much more. So it was a conscious decision to have your protagonist be. I'm also loving how little the title character is in. I mean, that's like for a web comic, that's I'm like 18 pages in, and I think Rice Boy's been on like four of them.
Yeah.
That's oh God, I'm gonna have to read this now. See, I like I already have too many comics to read. What are you doing to me, Sam? You're doing awesome things, but I still feel like complaining for a second. We're in the platinum age of comics. There are too many. I had to finish your books, Sam.
Well, they're easy to access. That's why we love webcomics. They're gonna just be there. Pull it up on your phone.
Pull it up on your phone, pull it up on your tablet, pull it up on your computer.
Instead of going onto social
It,
media, pull up
it,
a comic on your
right,
phone. So much
right.
healthier for the brain.
I am the world's weirdest smartphone user. I avoided smartphones forever because I'm like I want a phone that works. And as soon as you go touch screen, you're creating ways in which the phone becomes secondary to the like if I
Fair,
had my
yeah.
way, every touchscreen would still have like a slide down keyboard. So if for whatever reason the touchscreen wasn't working right, I could still push the buttons in for a phone number. Um, but then it started becoming really easy to read comics on your phone. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, if I can read comics on my phone, I need a smartphone now. I didn't need a smartphone for I could do Facebook and Twitter and whatever at home or not at all. I was fine with that. But but you mean I can read comics on my phone now? I'm in.
Your phone is for phone calls and comic reading. That's it.
I mean, I use it for email and whatnot, but I didn't feel that
Yeah.
desire to upgrade until it's like, oh, wait, panel by panel works really well. I could read like Love and Rockets or Spider-Man on my phone.
I have to say, like, I say like I love webcomics, but like the webcomics I like seem to all be formatted for print, and I would love to one day do a webcomic that is meant to be digital
I
and like explore that format.
um have you read any Scott McCloud?
I have, and I've also Emily Carroll also does a lot of very interesting things with
Okay.
webcomics and like big kind of
Oh, see, I only know
screens.
Emily Carroll
Yeah.
in her print. If she's doing stuff with webcomics, I gotta go look that up. Um, because Scott McCloud talked about in I think his reinventing comics, his follow-up to Understanding Comics, about some of the possibilities of the web. And like he hoped to one day see like infinite comics where
Mhm.
like they went off, and I don't know if anybody's really pulled that off yet. But they're all are all I actually here, I'll show you something that I try to remember to show all of my cartoonists because it's really fun when they wind up joining. Are you familiar with the game The Exquisite Corpse?
Yeah.
Where like you tell
You
stories
like,
and you right.
yeah.
Many years ago, my friend Bob Skoriak and Art Spiegelman did a book called The Narrative Corpse, where like a who's who of American and European um cartoonists did 3 pages at a time or 3 panels at a time, and they only got to see the panels before them. Since then, it has been adapted to the web. If you go to corpsey.trouble.club, and that's trouble TRUBBLE, you will come to what is called the Infinite Corpse, where you get to see 3 panels, and I mean you can at this point they've got 557 different artists. So half the time
Wow.
you click on, here we've got Stefan Dobie, and I can takes me to, well, okay, these ones took me in order, but sometimes,
It's just like
yeah.
a
So,
different order. That's
well,
really
yeah.
cool.
See, we've got the Lark Pine comic here, and it gives me, do I want to go to Scott Roberts or do I want to go to Alexis Frederick Frost? And I picked that one, and then now I've got three: Carol Tyler, Eric Zettelmeyer, or worked from that comic. So it's like this total web of 3 panel things, and like if you so who's who of artists, you know. I'm pretty certain Art Spiegelman has done it. Miss Lasco Gross, yeah. So who's who of Ivan Brunetti did one of web comic artists. They don't have any real. I mean, I think they reserve the right to say no, right? But they don't, I think, have any specific rule for how popular you need to be able to
To
draw a strip for
contribute.
them. Right. So
Very
you've got
cool.
everything from really well-known artists to just random web artists. And yeah, it's one of my favorite internet rabbit holes. Just to just start with one and yeah, Gene Yang did one. Um, just start with one and go random directions and see what I find. And I try to remember to Louis Trondheim. He's a big time European artist. Um, try to make certain that I remember to tell cartoonists because I always like it when like a month later I'll come across one that like, oh, I told them about this and they went and did one. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I do I've always loved the concept. Uh, I think comics lend themselves to collaborative storytelling more than most mediums to begin with.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's just
So
like
it's
their DNA is just that,
right,
right?
right. So the whole idea of here, have 3 panels and that's all you get to see, and you get to take the story from there. Um, it's just brilliant to me. So, Sam, thank you so much for your time. You are welcome back anytime. Certainly, anytime you're plugging something, but if you ever just want to hang out and talk comics, let me know. If you need an excuse to read something, we can book club it, whatever. I
Yeah.
like talking comics in case you haven't noticed.
I had a great time. This was a nice conversation. It
But
was like, it was informal, which I enjoy. Like we got
yeah,
to share
that's
what we
the
like
only thing
reading,
I know how to
and
do.
it was good.
Your work is amazing. Loving Ohio is out August 6th. The third volume of Verse is out. I think we said September 25th, but of course
Yeah.
I closed the tab. Um, it's been a blast. I look forward to seeing more of your work, and I hope your move isn't too stressful. Moving is horrible. I hate it.
This is good because I'm moving literally 10 floors down in the same building.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
that's not
it's
as bad as
good.
it could be.
Not as bad as it could be.
Please tell me there's an elevator.
There is, thankfully.
Okay. If there was no elevator, that could be
We start throwing things out the window.
it'd be
There's
better
no
than 10
elevator.
floors up, but it would still
Yeah.
be. Is there anywhere that you like people to find you on the web? I forget to
Yeah,
ask people
so
that.
you can find kind of all my art at sambeck.ca, and you can read Verse online at versecomic.com.
All righty. Well, again, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of your stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next, and hopefully we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
For Sam Beck, this has been 22 Panels, and we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.